I was halfway through my second beer, leaning against the kitchen counter at David and Melissa's house, when my wife decided to turn our marriage into a public spectacle. It was supposed to be a simple Saturday night office party, casual clothes, music from someone's Bluetooth speaker, small talk about the upcoming football season. Nothing dramatic. Until she stood up, raised her glass, and changed everything. "Hey, everyone," she said, her voice a little too loud, that fake confidence coating every word. "Quick announcement. I just want everyone to know that Mark and I have decided to try an open marriage." The room went dead silent. Every head turned. The music stopped mid-beat. I froze, beer halfway to my lips, as 20 people stared at me like I was supposed to perform, get angry, laugh, something. I just set the bottle down and met her eyes. "As you wish." The smile on her face cracked for a split second before she caught herself, laughing awkwardly. She'd been pushing this narrative for months, talking about modern love and how monogamy was old-fashioned. She thought I'd stammer, blush, maybe even beg her to stop. Not tonight. Not anymore. I turned to Rachel, one of her co-workers sitting on the couch. "Rachel, you free this weekend? Dinner's on me." You could have heard a pin drop before Rachel leaned back, smirked, and said, "Sure, why not? I can do better than her anyway." That single sentence hit the air like an explosion. Someone gasped. Someone else muttered, "Oh, damn." My wife's expression went from smug to panicked so fast, it was almost comical. "What the hell are you doing?" she hissed, her voice trembling. "Accepting your terms," I said calmly. "You want it open. Now it's open." Rachel stood up, grinning, grabbed her purse, and said, "Text me the details." "Saturday works great." She walked right past my wife without a glance and out the door, leaving everyone stunned. My wife tried to laugh it off, but her voice cracked. "He's just joking," she said to the room, but nobody bought it. They were either looking away or trying not to laugh. "No joke," I said, taking another sip. "You made the rules." She shot me a death stare, her voice trembling. "Mark, we need to talk. Outside. Now." We stepped out into the driveway, the cool air doing little to calm the tension. She turned to me, eyes flashing. "You can't actually go out with her." "Why not? You just announced to everyone that we're open." "That's what open means." I was kidding. You know I was kidding. Didn't sound like it. I could see the realization dawning on her. The social trap she'd built and just fallen into. She started pacing. "You're being ridiculous. You're twisting my words." "No," I said quietly. "You're twisting your marriage." She stopped, tears threatening. "I didn't mean it like that." "Then what did you mean?" I asked. Because from where I stood, it sounded like you wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone. Her lips trembled. "I just wanted to see how you'd react." "So you wanted to test me?" I nodded slowly. "Got it. You wanted to see if I'd still fight for you. But guess what? I'm done fighting for someone who treats me like a game." She was silent, staring at the ground. "You think this is funny?" she finally whispered. "Not even a little," I said. "But it's fair." I walked past her back into the house, grabbed my jacket, nodded to David, and left. The night air felt colder on the drive home, the kind of cold that burns but clears your head. I sat on the couch in the dark living room, thinking about the last 6 months, the late nights at her office, the harmless texts with her coworker Tom, the way she kept testing how far she could push before I'd push back. Tonight she found out. My phone buzzed. "Rachel." That was wild. She had it coming. Saturday at 7. I smiled. "See you then." Whatever came next, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't playing her games anymore. This time, the rules were mine. She came home just after midnight, heels clicking sharply on the hardwood, the smell of wine and embarrassment clinging to her like cheap perfume. I didn't even look up when the front door shut. I was sitting on the couch, the TV playing some late-night rerun, volume low. "We need to talk," she said, her voice small but edged with panic. I muted the TV. "Go ahead." She dropped her purse onto the counter and crossed her arms, trying to look composed but failing miserably. Her mascara was smudged, her eyes red. What happened tonight was out of line. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. That made me laugh. I embarrassed you? You stood up in front of 20 people and declared our marriage open. I just accepted your terms. I was tipsy. I wasn't thinking clearly. You had 2 glasses of wine over 3 hours. You knew exactly what you were doing. Her shoulders dropped. Baby, please. Can we just forget this happened? I made a mistake. No, I said simply. Her eyes widened. What do you mean, no? I mean, we're not pretending this didn't happen. You don't get to humiliate me in public and then sweep it under the rug because it didn't go your way. Her tone hardened. So you're actually going through with this? You're going to see Rachel? Yes, I said. You want it open. I'm keeping it open. She shook her head, disbelief written across her face. She's my friend. Was, I corrected. Pretty sure that friendship ended when she said she could do everything better than you. You're being cruel. No, I said evenly. I'm being honest. You should try it sometime. She turned away, pacing in short, furious steps. You can't just start dating other people because of one stupid thing I said. Watch me. She spun around, eyes blazing. Fine. I'll tell everyone you're having an affair. That you're trying to hurt me. I stood up, grabbed the remote, and turned the TV off completely. Go ahead, I said calmly. Tell them about the affair you gave me permission to have in front of witnesses. I'm sure that'll sound convincing. Her mouth opened, then closed. She was out of words. Here's what I think really happened, I said, keeping my voice level. You've been getting close to Tom at your office, right? The texts, the inside jokes, the way you light up when he calls. You wanted permission to cross that line without guilt. So you made a public announcement that we're open, thinking I'd panic, maybe even agree to it later out of insecurity. You wanted to make yourself the victim of a boring husband. But the moment I took you at your word, you couldn't handle it. That's not true, she whispered. Then deny it. Tell me you haven't been talking to him late at night. Her silence told me everything. You see, I said quietly, you've been testing me for months. Well, congratulations. Test completed. You're twisting everything, she said, but even she didn't sound convinced. No, I'm just done pretending. She walked to the window, wiping her face, staring out at the empty street. So what now? She asked softly. Are you just going to throw away 7 years of marriage over one mistake? It wasn't one mistake, I said. It was a series of choices that led here. You stopped respecting me a long time ago. Tonight just made it obvious. That's not fair. Life's not fair, I said, echoing something she'd told me once when she got a promotion over a friend. Remember? I walked past her toward the bedroom. Where are you going? To sleep. Guest room or couch, your choice. Mark, she said, her voice cracking, please don't do this. I paused at the doorway. You already did. I closed the door and locked it. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I needed distance. My phone buzzed a few minutes later. Rachel again. She's losing it, huh? I smiled faintly. You could say that. Good. Don't back down. Everyone saw how she treats you. Tonight was the first time you stood up for yourself. Keep standing. I stared at the message for a long moment before replying. Thanks. I needed that. She sent back. That's what friends are for. See you Saturday. For the first time in months, I slept soundly. The next morning, she tried to reset everything. Pancakes on the table, coffee brewing, soft music in the background, like nothing had happened. I sat down, ate in silence, thanked her for the food, and went to work. She called 6 times that day. I didn't answer once. When I got home that evening, she was waiting by the door, arms crossed, jaw tight. This silent treatment is childish, she said. I'm not being silent, I replied. I just have nothing left to say. So that's it. You're really doing this? Yes. Fine, she snapped. Then I'm going out Friday night. We're open now, right? Have fun, I said, walking into the kitchen. That stopped her. You don't even care? You made the rules, I said, turning on the stove. I'm just playing by them. She didn't answer. For the first time in our marriage, I felt calm. Detached, yes, but calm. I realized something in that moment. She'd built this drama for attention, but I was done being her audience. Friday night came, and she spent almost 2 hours getting ready. I could hear the blow dryer, the click of heels, the occasional curse when her eyeliner smudged. When she finally stepped out of the bedroom, she looked stunning, as if she were going to a red carpet event rather than a night out with her so-called office friend. "You're going out like that?" I asked, not looking up from my phone. "Yes, why? You think I look bad?" "I didn't say that," I replied, scrolling casually. "You look great. Hope he appreciates the effort." Her mouth twitched, as if she couldn't decide whether to feel proud or offended. "You really don't care?" she asked again, this time softer. "You made your choice," I said. "You wanted open, you got open." She waited, searching my face for something. Jealousy, maybe regret, but there was nothing left to find. "Fine," she said, grabbing her purse. "Don't wait up." The front door closed behind her, and silence filled the house. I ordered a pizza, opened a beer, and watched an old movie until I got bored. By the time she came back a few hours later, I was already half asleep. I heard the faint sound of her crying in the guest room, the quiet, muffled sobs of someone realizing a plan had backfired. I didn't move. She had made her bed. The next morning, I woke up early, went to the gym, and came home to find her sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. She looked exhausted, her makeup from last night still faintly visible. "How was your night?" I asked, pouring myself a cup. "I didn't go through with it," she said quietly. "I met Tom for drinks, but I couldn't do it. I realized I didn't actually want this." "Okay," I said, sipping my coffee. "Okay, that's all you have to say. What do you want me to say? That I'm proud of you for not cheating? You want a medal?" She glared at me, eyes wet. "I want you to cancel your date with Rachel." "Not happening." "Why not? If I didn't go through with mine, why should you go through with yours?" "Because," I said, setting down the cup, "this isn't about revenge. This is about respect. You disrespected me in front of everyone, tried to humiliate me, and now you're mad because I won't play the victim. My dinner with Rachel is happening. End of discussion." She stared down at her coffee, her voice barely a whisper. "I messed up." "Yeah," I said. "You did." I went upstairs, showered, and got dressed. By 6:30, I was buttoning up a shirt she always said she hated because it was too fancy for everyday wear. Tonight, it felt perfect. When I came downstairs, she was sitting on the couch, arms folded, eyes narrowed. "Have a good time," she said, her voice brittle. "Thanks," I replied, grabbing my keys. "Don't wait up." I left without another word. The drive to Rachel's place was calm, music low, mind clear. When she opened the door, she wore a simple black dress, her hair down, her smile warm but knowing. "Right on time," she said. "Punctuality's my only virtue." She laughed, locking the door behind her. Somehow I doubt that. Dinner was easy, surprisingly so. We talked about work, about the chaos at David and Melissa's party, about the ridiculousness of it all. Rachel had this sharp humor that made it impossible not to laugh. "So," she said while we waited for our table, "how bad did it get after I left?" "Pretty bad," I admitted. "Tears, yelling, bargaining. The works." "Let me guess." She said she was joking. First thing out of her mouth. Rachel shook her head. "Classic. Power play gone wrong. She does that all the time, doesn't she? Pushes until someone pushes back." I smirked. "You've noticed?" "Everyone's noticed," she said. "She treats life like a stage play where she's the star and everyone else is just background noise." That sounds about right. We were seated at a booth in the corner, and after ordering, she leaned forward slightly. "Can I be honest?" "Please." I never liked her much. She's exhausting. Always performing, always trying to prove something. When she started dating you, I remember thinking, he seems too grounded for her. I chuckled. "Thanks, I think." "No, really," she continued. "You're decent. She's chaos. And lately, the way she talks about you, God, it's awful." "What did she say?" Rachel hesitated. "You sure you want to know?" I nodded. "She said you were boring." predictable, that you never wanted to do anything exciting. Meanwhile, she'd bring up Tom every other sentence. Tom said this. Tom took his girlfriend there. Tom understands her. It was painful to listen to. I took a long drink of water, letting it sink in. Yeah, I figured as much, I said finally. Still stings though. I get that, Rachel said softly. But don't take it personally. People like her. They confuse stability with boredom. They crave chaos because it makes them feel alive. I smiled faintly. You sound like you've studied this. I've lived it, she said. And for what it's worth, I'm glad you finally stopped letting her treat you like a doormat. The food came, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like I could breathe. No tension, no walking on eggshells. Just conversation, laughter, and the sense that I wasn't crazy for expecting respect. Over dessert, Rachel asked, "So what's your plan? You trying to fix things or move on?" I looked down at my fork, then back at her. Honestly, I don't know. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I have options. She smiled. That's a good start. When I dropped Rachel off that night, she turned to me before getting out of the car. You know, she said, whatever happens, just make sure you're doing it for you. Not out of guilt, not out of anger. You deserve to be respected, Mark. She smiled, thanked me for dinner, and went inside. I sat there for a minute before starting the car. The drive home was quiet, peaceful, almost surreal. When I walked into the house, my wife was sitting on the couch, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the door. You actually went through with it, she said flatly. Yes, I answered, hanging up my jacket. With Rachel? Yes. You had a good time? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. I did, I said. We had dinner, talked, laughed. It was nice. Her face twisted with disbelief and anger. You went on a date with my friend. Former friend, I corrected. And yes, I did. You made it possible when you announced we were open. You're unbelievable, she said, standing up. Do you even hear yourself? You went out with her to hurt me. No, I said, meeting her eyes. I went out with her because I wanted to be treated like a human being again. She looked like she wanted to scream, but couldn't find the words. Are you in love with her? No, I said honestly. I barely know her. But she respects me. And right now, that's more than I can say about you. Tears welled up in her eyes. So that's it. We're done. I didn't say that, I said calmly. But pretending we're okay won't fix anything either. I walked past her toward the bedroom. We'll talk tomorrow, I added, but I'm sleeping in our bed. You can take the guest room. I shut the door before she could respond. My phone buzzed a few minutes later. Rachel, home safe. Thanks again for tonight. You're good company. I smiled and typed back, you too. For the first time in years, I felt light. Free even. The next few days were quiet. She tried being sweet again, making breakfast, asking about my day, pretending nothing had happened. But I could tell it was all surface level. The guilt had turned into strategy. Then, on Monday morning, I got a text from David. Heads up. She's calling people crying, saying Rachel's trying to steal you. I sighed and thanked him for letting me know. By the time I got to work, I had several missed calls and a pile of texts from her, some apologizing, some accusing, some begging. That night, I came home and found her sitting at the dining table with papers spread everywhere. Sit down, she said, her tone businesslike. We need to establish boundaries. If this open relationship is happening, we need rules. I stared at her. Now you want rules? After you made the announcement in front of everyone. I'm trying to fix this, she said. I'm trying to make it work. No, I replied, shaking my head. You're trying to control it again. You hate that it's not going your way. Her composure cracked. Stop acting like you're the victim. You went out with my friend. You mean the one who agreed to your idea of an open marriage? Yeah, I did. Meanwhile, you've been emotionally attached to Tom for months. Nothing happened with Tom, she shouted. Not yet, I said, but you wanted it to. That's why you did all this. You wanted permission without guilt. She froze, then looked away. Fine, she whispered. You want the truth? Yes, I liked him. I thought if we opened things up, It could save us. By blindsiding me in front of our friends. I asked, "That's your version of saving a marriage?" She started crying again. "I found a therapist," she said suddenly, holding up her phone. "She specializes in non-traditional relationships. We can talk to her, figure this out." I exhaled slowly. "I don't want to figure this out," I said. And as soon as I said it, I realized it was the truth. "You can't mean that," she said, her voice trembling. "I do. I'm done. I want a divorce." Her eyes went wide, color draining from her face. "You can't just decide that. Like you decided we were open?" I asked quietly. She sat down, shaking, crying harder now, but I didn't move to comfort her. "This isn't working," I continued. "It hasn't for a long time. You stopped respecting me, and I stopped recognizing the person I married." The next morning, I met with a lawyer. She was calm, professional, and within an hour, I knew what steps to take. No kids, minimal shared assets, separate savings. Clean and simple. When I got home, my wife wasn't there. I started sorting our things. What was mine? What was hers? What didn't matter anymore? When she came back that evening, she brought takeout. "Can we just eat and talk like adults?" she asked. I agreed. Halfway through the meal, she said, "I saw Rachel today." I set down my fork. "Okay." I went to her office. She said we're not friends anymore. She said I've been terrible for years. And she said everyone noticed how I treated you. Her eyes filled with tears. "Is that true? Is that what people think of me?" "Probably," I said honestly. She looked like I'd hit her. "You're really done, aren't you?" I nodded. "I filed the paperwork today." She stood so fast her chair tipped. "You can't do this," she cried. "You can't just walk away." "I already did," I said, "when you stood up in that room and turned our marriage into entertainment." She just stared at me, broken, and I felt nothing but relief. That night, Rachel texted, "Heard she came by. You okay?" "Yeah," I wrote back. "Filed for divorce." "Good for you," she replied. "You deserve better. And for what it's worth, I'm proud of you." Weeks passed. Friends reached out. People I barely talked to told me they'd seen this coming for years. I wasn't angry anymore, just done. By the time the divorce was finalized, I had peace for the first time in years. Rachel and I grabbed coffee once to celebrate. No expectations, just mutual respect. I told her, that night at the party, when she announced it, I thought my life was ending. She smiled. "Maybe it was, just not the way you thought." A year later, I went to another party at David's house. Same place, same laughter, no ghosts from the past. I stood by the counter, holding a beer, and for the first time, I didn't feel small. I felt free. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. More stories are on the way. You won't want to miss what comes next.